Hi, it's Anna from The Eclective here. I'm filming this in my converted back veranda in Armidale. This beautiful lime green room, which doubles as my making space and also as my greenhouse, as you can see. So over the last 10 days, I've gone from being a face-to-face and retail maker to a fully online shop. So I've always had some creative projects on the side, from screen printed bond singlets to jewellery to lots of handmade jewellery. But I've always wanted to get into ceramics. And about 3 years ago, I found the Armidale Pottery Club and did a hand building class with them, and totally hooked from that day by the possibilities of clay and what could be done with it. So I made my first batch of ceramic earrings in late 2017. It was a moderate sized fail. The way I had placed all the pieces in the kiln meant that half the batch was fused together in a pool of glaze and clay, and you really can't undo things that have been fused together at 1300 degrees centigrade. But I did learn a lot from that very first batch, and from then, every batch I make, I learn a little bit more. And the biggest thing I've learned from the incredibly generous community of local potters and also those I've connected with online is that you'll never stop learning, you'll never stop experimenting, and you'll never stop developing your skills in ceramics. So from that very first batch, I moved into working with porcelain. I use a porcelain that was developed and is still made in Australia. It's a beautiful malleable clay, but like all clay, it can be a bit temperamental at times. But the results after it's high fired are absolutely worth all the pain and mistakes that you might have with every batch of clay. It's a really stunning bright white porcelain, which is luminous, and when it's made very thinly, it will also become semi-transparent. So it's got these really magical qualities about it. I think ceramics as a whole is undergoing a real resurgence across the world. There's an appreciation for the handmade and the unique characteristics of what ceramics is, and I think also for the amount of work that goes into every piece. You might hear of ceramics being referred to as slow made, and that's mostly because there can be no rushing any stage of the making process. Clay has to be at just the right temperature and moisture level to work with. The first firing takes 8 to 10 hours to fire. Then you glaze and you decorate, and that's got to be done pretty precisely and patiently, or you'll end up with a glaze mess like I did the first time. And the second firing, the glaze firing, can take up to 14 hours. And then it's sanded and finished even before I start actually making them into jewellery. So there's a lot of work that goes into all of these pieces, and I hope that I can show you a bit of the love that goes in. So next I'm just going to show you some of the transformation from clay to finished pieces. So this is the raw porcelain to start with. It's pretty white in colour. I've also left this out for a little bit so it's a bit dry. I wouldn't want to try and make stuff with this right now. But you can see that it's got that lovely malleable texture, and it's just really beautiful to work with. So the first stage from the raw clay is to what we call greenware, and this is the next piece when it's been shaped and formed into the shape that I want, and it's when all the moisture has left the clay. You get a tiny bit of shrinkage at this point from when it starts as the shape to when it fully dries, and it's also really fragile in this state. So I've just got a piece that I've broken earlier, and you can see that it just breaks so easily because there's just, it hasn't fused together yet. It hasn't gone through the firing process to make it clay. And then next up, you can see this is a piece that has been bisque fired and then has the glaze applied. So you can see the shrinkage between the bisqueware and the greenware and the bisqueware here. So there's probably about a 5 to 8% shrinkage there between the first state and the second state. So once it's been bisque fired, this piece also has had the powder of the glaze applied, which you can see there. So then this piece will go into what is called the second firing, or a glaze firing, which transforms it into this beautiful piece of porcelain with the glass glaze finish. So most of my pieces I use sort of quite a shiny glaze on there, but I do leave some pieces raw without a glaze over the top, or use a matte glaze. And there's lots of variations that you can get from that. So I also just wanted to show you here how thin the pieces are. And that's sort of the thickness that I aim for in the making. Porcelain's also really light. And I've been banging on about porcelain quite a lot, but I have actually also started working with a speckled stoneware clay, which is quite a different clay to work with, but it's a really beautiful finished result as well. So this is the stoneware clay, the speckles you can see there. And this is a piece that I've left raw finish, so it's a stud. And you can see those beautiful speckles, and it's been high sanded, but it's a very matte finish because there's no glaze on there. And then I've also been doing these pieces which have, there's a matte glaze on there, so you can see there's a tiny bit of shine, but it really lets the beauty of the speckles really come through there. I'm wearing my favourite pair of earrings today, which are made from the Southern Ice porcelain, and they've got a really light clear glass glaze on the top of them, and they're on my handmade sterling silver hooks, and the handmade hooks are from a supplier I found in the Blue Mountains who makes every pair by hand, which is just incredible. So if you've had a chance to look at my work, you'll see that I'm pretty focused on geometric shapes with some organic shapes thrown in there as well. I've got a colour palette that kind of comes from this really minimalist white and a jet black through to some new favourites of mine. There's a night sky navy, which really looks like a galaxy within the glaze, a really great electric blue, a mustard perfect for autumn, and some emerald greens, and a really nice minty green, which is almost a celadon colour. So simple and understated is kind of the focus of my ceramic range. And as I said, porcelain's really light to wear, so absolutely not like wearing a dinner plate on your ears, but really light earrings is something that is really important to me in the making process. I'm actually just going to take these out into the sun and show you what they look like when there's a bit of translucence happening. So I've just brought my favourite pair out into the sun, and you can see just how light and thin they are, but also you can see that translucence that happens with the porcelain that I use. So it's just a really beautiful effect, and even when I put a glaze on, I feel like you can still from the back see that really great bright white. So I thought I'd just finish up with a quick little tour of my making space out here. I don't know about you, but I always like seeing the behind the scenes of makers. So I'll just flip this around. This is the sort of the start of the process, which is the clay into shapes. I do a lot of making down at the Pottery Club as well, which I'm really lucky to have as a resource, because clay can be very messy. So it's really nice to be able to have a space down there, and also to connect with all the other potters and get helpful advice. Over here, I've got some pieces ready to be made. And then these is a whole nother batch of studs and hooks that need to get photographed to get ready to put into the online store. There's some really beautiful new organic shapes in these, in studs. This electric blue that I talked about, it's just such a great colour. This is one of my other favourite glazes at the moment. I'm calling it Sunny Sea, and you can just see it really looks like the ocean out on a sunny day with the sunlight hitting the waves underneath there. So there's a few of those pieces in there as well. There's the greenhouse, or attempt at a greenhouse, and then this is the online shop new packing station. And I'll also just show you this really great new invention that I found, which is
basically brown paper bubble wrap. It pulls out into this hexagon shape, and I've just sent off my first lot of earrings wrapped in this, and then they come in this beautiful little linen pouch. So I'm hoping that this works to keep them really safe and protected, and also, of course, it can just be thrown in the garden or recycled afterwards. And then this is the packing station, which also doubles as the sanding station. And these are the first batch of earrings that have been photographed and put online, and so they're all ready to go to new homes. So thank you very much for listening and watching, and I hope you have a really great day exploring all the handmade and creative people in our region, and that you can, find something beautiful to take home and get a bit of handmade joy in the mail. Thank you.